to the Chai Tea Podcast.
What do they talk about?
I don't know. Let's find out.
Hello. Welcome to the Chai Tea Podcast. This is Max and we are in video. After our new episode in the new format, we are now here for another episode. Last time we spoke about diets and stuff. This time we're trying to go we're going retro and talking about cassettes. This is the time again. I don't think there's anyone listening to this who's from the newer generations. Yes, but if if you're listening to this by chance, cassettes were something that uh, we grew up listening audio on, and all audio was on a cassette, and that's our first foray into music for all of us. And we want to talk about that, the time of cassettes, and all the craze about it, and how easy or difficult it was to even gain access. Like today, you just go to Spotify and you play the new song. Like there's a new Ilayaraja song that has come out, and then you can just immediately, it's announced and immediately it's there either on YouTube or on Spotify. That wasn't the case. So let's talk about that. So audio cassettes. We're only the ones who know what to do with the audio cassette and a pencil. Don't think anyone knows what that is for.
I think we are the last generation that knows what it is.
Yeah, what do we do with an audio cassette and a pencil? But okay, speaking of that, what was your first audio cassette you remember listening to? Not the first cassette you own. I'll come back to that later. But what's the first audio cassette you remember listening to as a kid?
Actually, there are two. One was basically this Preeti Sagar's English rhymes. And I think everyone had, like, my niece listens to it now. And Amma Padi Padi. Now my niece will also, like, kind of repeat. But that is, like, my first memory because I think then I was in Chennai because my grandmother was going through cancer treatment uh, and all that. So, I used to go to this Balalok preschool in a rickshaw. The day will start with that Preeti Sagar rhymes. ஒரு ரெண்டு side இருக்கும், side A, side B. So they'll put all of side B, all of it to try and convince me to like get into that rickshaw saying, hey, jolly rhymes பண்ணிட்டு போலாம் பாரு and all.
Man,
That
what a blast.
the second one is Niladu Vanathu Mele. So I was crazy about that song. Like that is my one song even today. Like my family kind of teases me because like anywhere I hear that hoya hoy, apparently I used to be like happy and engaged. So my parents, because the cassette they had a cassette where they had taped Niladu Vanathu Mele back to back to back. So they can keep playing it. So yeah, Nayagan has to be like the next one I remember. Like even now, if I can't sleep or if there's something on my mind, like I'll pick up Nayagan and I'll start like playing that song. It just gets me into that.
There is a YouTube video that has the Let It Go song on loop. It's like a 1 hour video of Let It Go. There was similarly one for Baby Shark as well. It was like a 1 hour video of Baby Shark with the song going on loop. Like your parents did this, way back before this was even a thing. So, wow. But no, Preeti Sagar, like the moment you said, the smile could not stop from my face because I remember that too. Yeah, first memories of cassettes.
So I was very basic. My first memories of cassettes were Suprabhatham in the morning because I hate mornings. And the thing was that was like a disturbance of sleep, right? And they wouldn't stop with that. Then they would have Kandasashti Kavasam. Then there would be like one this thing, that thing, this thing, that thing. So I was eagerly looking forward to getting into the auto rickshaw. They didn't have to tell me. I was like waiting. Like, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. I'm like done.
For me,
And
oh god,
no, but you know what? There's very, very interesting thing about Suprabhatam in the morning. Everyone said the Suprabhatam played at 4 a.m. But my mom was also a late riser. So she would play it at 7 a.m. So everyone around our house would be like, இந்த வீட்ல எதுக்கு சுப்ரபாதம் இப்பவே And my mom will be like making breakfast and I'll be like still groggy because 7 a.m. is midnight for me. I'll wake up at 8 a.m. for an 8:15 auto. That was the kind of person I was. I don't know what happened. You've seen the Tare Zameen Par, right? That kid basically is like doing the toothbrush. That was me. with the toothbrush, not even with the toothbrush, I'll just be staring at like some blank wall, and then suddenly I'll be in a uniform and I'll be out. But, that's Suprabhatam.
I had it way better, yeah. Yeah, I would have to agree. My parents never played Suprabhadam and all. For me, like every routine had a song. In Coimbatore, I went to Anna Sharda Vidyalaya. So Apurva Sagodharargal was like the in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So my parents had the cassette. So school ku போறதுக்கு முன்னாடி it was Raja Kaiya Vecha, okay. And I used to hate the song because it meant that okay, now you have to get ready and go to school.
Oh,
And I came to love the song much, much later because there's a lot of trauma associated with it, like as a young person. And then if my mom sang Chittukuruvi Muttam Koduthe, it meant I was getting an oil bath then. Like,
this is like
no,
the
no point.
Hum Dil De Chuke Sanam, where Aishwarya says, we have a song for everything.
I was actually thinking of it differently now. All these daycares, they have this put the toys back in the box kind of song, right? Where it's like a
Cleanup song.
psychological trigger and
It's
people
the
actually
cleanup
use it to.
song. My kids
It's
sing
a
that
cleanup
even now.
song. Yeah. Yeah.
Clean up,
So
clean up,
adults,
everybody clean up.
so adults actually play that cleanup song at home to get their chores started if they're stuck, and it actually works. So it's like one of those CIA type thingy which kindergartners were put into. Which makes me think that makes sense because probably the CIA people had kids too, right? So they wanted something for themselves as well.
So yeah, so Preeti Sagar, I remember we used to have the cassette at home. But the one that would play the most was actually not the Super Button, but there was another it was an MS Subbulakshmi cassette which had a bunch of songs. So it would have the Hanuman Chalisa, it would have the Dasavataram song, it would have Adaram Maduram, all of that. So it was like a
The Dasavataram song, you don't mean that Krishna Krishna, right?
Like, serious?
so that was one of the
Can you
songs.
clarify which Dasavataram, okay?
No, no. Dasavataram, when you said Krishna, Krishna, I'm thinking Mukunda, Mukunda.
No, that's what he means. That's what Yam means. Yam is okay more than Mukunda Mukunda.
So, like, thinking Mukunda.
Yeah, so that ever Sublakshmi cassette I remember a lot. And then another one was a hits of Shami Kapoor, my dad's this thing, and
Definitely that Yahoo song was there in that somewhere,
yeah,
which
so
makes sense.
and it
But then what inspired you to computer science?
no, and that's what I remember a lot because Chitrahar would also come on Doordarshan, right? So those songs would still be playing even then. So I remember the Taarif Karu Kya Uski and the
Oh,
Yahoo and all of that. So then they would play these, and so I would also keep screaming along with that. So I didn't know, so I didn't know the lyrics to Che Chan Sa Roshan Chehra, but I know the clap.
mm,
I know the clap that goes with it because Shami Kapoor would do the clap in the video, in the song. And the Yahoo, I remember like standing, being on my knees and doing that. So those two cassettes, I remember a lot, playing those a lot. And then little later, probably, I unearthed I was allowed to touch more of my dad's cassettes. And that's when I found there was this collection of Beatles and Pink Floyd and
like you
all.
have to earn the trust to do that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That's
So
like that's like posh Max. Literally
the
posh
Xiaomi
Max.
Kapoor cassette, I was, it was fine. And when I was like 6, 7 years old or something, I was allowed to. I knew I was tall enough to reach and put the cassette and all that. But after some time, I earned the, okay, I can touch these other cassettes because these are more because the Xiaomi Kapoor was like a Tips or T series or something like that. HMV, I think it was HMV or something like that. But these they were more expensive cassettes, and so you couldn't touch those, and they had their, they were separate and all that. But yeah, I mean, the cassettes brings so many memories. But let me ask another sec question. What is the first cassette that is yours? That was yours that you got to buy or was gifted to you or was bought for you? Suppose all the other ones like are our parents' cassettes that we have listened to or they have bought. What's something that either you have bought with your pocket money or has been gifted to you for a birthday or something like that?
It was not pocket money because like my dad was also into music, so we always used to like buy cassettes, and sometimes we used to like go to the store and record cassettes and all. But I remember being crazy about Ricky Martin at one stage,
Hmm.
like crazy, and that was that Maria's album. So I used to be like, no, I want that cassette, I want that cassette, because Ilayaraja A.R. Rahman anyways used to come home because my dad, like, we intersected that way. But Ricky Martin was something my dad didn't like listen to, and I was like, எனக்கு அந்த cassette வேணும் வேணும் வேணும்னு. I remember like uh, அப்போ வந்து you won't get these English cassettes in like the shops that we used to go to. Like there is a shop in Coimbatore and Lakshmi complex where we used to get our cassettes from. And where we lived in Ramnagar also there was another shop, but majority you'll get Tamil Hindi, okay, not even Malayalam or not even Telugu. English cassette venuna, you had to go to Araspuram and there used to be this Planet M or something. So you had to go
Mm.
there and buy that. So I went there for Ricky Martin, and then I saw Vande Matram there, and we didn't have Vande Matram and Gurus of Peace set at home. Like that my parents got for me.
This would have been like 99 or something, right? Because Vande Mataram, 98, 99, something around that time. I think.
98 la வந்து I remember that. The other memory I have is I was like, both of these are like when I was studying for exams and all. I think my parents were not super into like Hindi music and all. Okay, like popular albums they used to listen, but not the niche ones. And Zubeda had come out. And part of it, but you used to see the trailers like in P4U with that so Hai color, that refrain, only that chorus will come. And I was like, no, I need this cassette. I need this cassette. I need this cassette. So Zubeda was brought only for me. And I think na matunda keta and the cassette. No one has like heard it in my house. But I used to like, and the songs will make you tear up. Okay. Because I had a good understanding of Hindi Urdu by then because I'd like passed my Prachar Sabha examinations. So I
Like,
used to sit and
like
listen to So Gaye Hai, Ko Gaye Hai, and I'll cry. My mom and dad are like, what's wrong? They're like, are you okay? So that I remember. That was Ricky Martin and yeah, Zubaida. Like those were some of the cassettes that they got for me. Like especially Gurus of Peace had this song called Toba Toba.
which Vicky Kaushal.
No, yeah. Unless Madhuru.
I know that.
That one. Not like, yeah. That original Toba Toba, and there's one more song called Only You. So I used to like play that on the loop, and my parents didn't understand like why I was crazy about it, but those were like some of like cassettes that they got for me. Like no one else were interested in the music, but I was.
Yeah, what about you?
I was actually Googling when these songs came because I have very warped memory of when these songs had come up.
It's probably 98, 90.
Time, yeah. Zubeda was probably 2001. I'm just looking it up.
No,
Zubeda
no, like, yeah, the Vande Mataram was around 98, 99.
98, yeah. Like that cassette I
Okay.
got very late.
Ricky Martin was also. I mean, the song is actually from like came out actually 95 or 96 or something, but it came to Indian shores around that 98, 99 time.
At 98. ஏன்னா அது வரைக்கும் வந்து அப்பெல்லாம் சோனி கேசட்ஸ் வந்து 1 or 2 years delay தான் வரும். You won't get like
Yeah.
instantaneous.
What and after that, Maria, because it came on TV, and then after that,
Yeah.
the 99 World Cup was there, right? And he sang the Cup
Yeah.
of Life.
Love it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And then
98 World Cup. 99
98
World
World Cup, France. Yeah, 98 World Cup.
Cricket was 99, football was 98.
I know. The 98 World Cup is when he sang the Livida Vida Loca
Yeah.
and all of that.
I heard it first in Shrek though, but yes, I get your point.
Yeah. No, but answer what's your what's the cassette that was yours?
So the first cassette I bought for myself was also the first cassette Segway, which I தேய்ச்சிட்டேன். Like completely wiped out. It no longer works. I get like bits and pieces of music here and there, but most of it is drowned because it has been played to submission, which is also the first set of songs I completely memorized because I heard it that long.
By any chance.
Illa.
Mm.
Oh,
When it came up, and I still play those songs, I literally know all the songs by heart. And that came up in 1997 for all those who are Googling right now, including Max.
actually looking to see when I got that cassette.
Sir, was 97.
Yes. And because I got it as a two-part cassette. So that's the thing, right? We had a side A, side B type of thing. I had Minsara Kana
Seeing.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them were 97. And I got it because, I don't know, my mom wanted to buy me a gift. I must have done something right because I got that cassette in 97. I have no memory of what I did, but I got that Sony Walkman CD player. I know I got Philips Walkman.
And remember the cassette coming out a little early. The movie came out in 97. The cassette came out a little early.
That's what I'm saying. No, I googled it's around 97, 96. I'm just approximating here. There was some sort of a school picnic that I remember I took that cassette player to, and we didn't have earphones and all of that. That time you had to put like that headphone type of thing. Yeah,
Very funny.
smaller than that. Not that was like the fancy headphone. We had the one which had this punji, which was like sticking here, and then you would tear it and it will completely go away. And people said if you tear the punji and put it in your ear, you can hear better. So people started doing that. So yeah, they were like, "Oh, that thing distorts the music, so you need to remove the foam so that you can hear it properly." So we used to do like, and because when you remove the foam, you can put it more into the ear. These were
Mm.
all before the in-ear headphones became popular, right?
All this I don't know about.
Yeah, and then that was like Sony, the Walkman. You could attach it to your belt or
Belt.
your
Yep.
flap.
Clip.
I'm a
So it was
super.
like one fashion statement
It
that
had
you
a
could wear
clip
that
that you
Walkman.
could go into your pant or something.
Yeah, exactly. That was like a memory because, and also Minsara Kanavu to me personally is one of the best AR albums of all time. Like the variety of music he had in that thing, especially Sivamani went apeshit in that. And I love Sivamani, since before that. But after probably Talapati, you can hear Sivamani's like true inner voice coming up in Minsara Kanavu. And the Nerika Ner, there was only one song where they're like that Simran keeps running and Surya keeps chasing. I forgot the name of the song also. That only. Yeah, so the funny thing is the Minsara Kanavu side was completely white and the Nerika Ner side who had like one song which was played and everything else was unheard of. I still don't know what songs are there in Nerika Ner. I only know that one song where they keep running and this Minsara Kanavu, I know all the songs. So and the funny thing was, I was studying in a Anglo-Indian school, right? And I had no idea that Anbendra Malayile was actually a song about Christ. It's only 20 years later when I heard the lyrics properly. I was like, oh, that's what they're talking about. They're talking about the crucifixion. Because I
See,
used to sing in my house, and my mom would be like,
oh, like my parents never had a problem with all that. But because you mentioned wipe the cassette, I will have to tell you. There was this one time where I think I got into my mom's nasty list and she never let me next to a cassette of hers. We had a very old Pudiyamugam cassette, like that Pyramid Magna sound cassette, cover lover.
Hmm.
My mom had that. And then I think this was around that 2001 Champions Trophy. Tenali had come out. I got hooked on to the album. But my mom was like, na cassette la vaangi tara poi padi. So what I did was a friend of mine had Tenali, so I asked her to bring it over. And I can never forgive this myself because the album is not completely streaming in the US now. I took that Pudiyamugam cassette and I wiped it and I taped Tenali over it. And I didn't tell my parents. About 3 months later, my mom lost Pudiyamugam. She starts the cassette and கண்ணுக்கு மை அழகுக்கு பதிலா இங்க was like blaring. And she was like, why did you do this? So you wouldn't buy me the cassette because we got into arguments. I think there were a couple of cassettes they didn't buy me for whatsoever reason. This day was one of them, which I will never forgive them for. Taj Mahal being the other, which I was like, when I could afford, I kind of went and got the CD. And again, I don't know why.
CD.
CD.
Wow.
When I was
Gosh.
like old enough, like you could go buy like those. Apollo வந்து back then you used to get these combination CDs. I can show them if you ask again from your iPhone. Thank you, Siri. But she was like mad at me. அதுக்கப்புறம் வந்து she never let me touch her cassettes. But I did that, and in hindsight now I feel foolish about it because I would be crazy if like someone did that to me. But when Yam mentioned wiping, I remember that because I remember my mom being super mad that I did that.
So I'm trying to think
yeah,
actually. The cassettes that uh, s- we a lot for a long time it was just my parents' cassette collection that I was listening to because afterwards we had TV and so it was just
Mm.
that. It's only when I came into probably like eighth or ninth or something like that around the 98, 98, 99 that years. So it's like if, for almost 10 years I was just pair my whatever we had at home. But that's when it was also the advent of MTV and before you, which is why all these music listening, SS Music was there, and all these music channels were. So that's when now we had this whole craze, right? So, but in terms of like original cassettes that I got, I probably it was around that time because I got as a gift Alai Payude and Kandu Konden Kandu Konden. They were both gifted to me.
In once, yeah.
They probably came out close to each other. Two cassettes is what I.
Week apart actually, because my
Yeah.
dad got Alaipaide first, and then the next week he went and got his Kandu Konten, and that was a summer vacation I enjoyed like anything.
It was before it was just before summer or something because it was around exam time and
Yeah,
I got those cassettes and those were only two original cassettes that I have owned that were mine.
okay, like your money.
No, they were
Uh,
gifts to me, right? So, but
yeah,
and I used to listen to those a lot. And in fact, they were the only Tamil cassettes I ever had. Yes, because everything else was either Hindi or English. So those were the first and only Tamil cassettes that I ever had in my possession. And but the thing that we had a lot was we would buy these empty TDK cassettes and then just record things. So that's what I want to ask next. So what different players do you remember? So Yam already mentioned the Walkman. I also got one, I think, around when I was in ninth, around that time, because I resumed listening to Alai Paide on my Walkman. And my Walkman also had an FM
Yes.
in there, right? It had FM and this thing. So I would also listen to FM because that's when, Radio Mirchi was just starting out and
Suryan FM
all of that.
before Radio Mirchi.
No, this is in Hyderabad. So
Right,
we had Mirchi by then.
right.
But yeah, so and then the other one I remember is like the whole thing of a two-in-one, right? That is something people will never understand. Like because you have the normal cassette player, which is your Akai or Philips or any one of those, which is like a cassette player, and then you have speakers on the side and plays out. The two-in-one was the game changer because it could take two. It had two chambers. You could put one cassette here, you could play one, and from here you could record into here, right?
in the Max, it was there always because the first machine that I remember is my parents had this tabletop recorder. Like you could place it on a table, it'll be like a laptop, and then cassette sleeve இருக்கும். And then there is a button and all that. So that was the first ever cassette player we had in my house. Like when I was 3 or 4 years old, and I still remember in the cassette porter we used to play. Then my dad, being an audiophile, he got, I think when I was in like UKG or something, we got our first stereo system. Again, ரெண்டு cassette போடலாம், ரெண்டு play பண்ணலாம். And I remember that அப்போ வந்து நாடோடி தென்றலோட album had come. And we used to play நாடோடி தென்றல், and the other album that had come out then was, I think, Pandian maybe. Like this was before Roja or some other
Mhm.
Rajnikant album. So Nadodi Tendral Vandu we used to play on like loop. Like it was like this short. So they got a special stand kodonanga. It connected to like two external speakers in the big
Mm.
speakers Mari. So that was like a big purchase for my dad. Like I think it was the biggest purchases he'd ever made. Like even before TV, we had a TV in our house. We had that tape recorder. We still didn't have a TV. So imagine like my dad's like 34 and he getting that stereo system.
I remember sir, we had these huge
Huh.
Yamaha box speakers, and then we had an Akai set which my dad was very very proud of, and he would not even let us touch that.
The
Uh,
towel photo.
yeah, and it had a lot of actually even till today I don't know what all functionality it had because it had a lot of buttons and a lot of things in there. I need to actually now that I remind, I need to go call up and ask my dad what was all the functionality that was even
You
in
have
there. Because I only remember the two buttons. Play this. There's like one long thing. You press it, it ejects. You can take out the cassette. You can put another one, and then hit the play or the
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. But then it was a big thing. We weren't allowed to touch the player. Like we used to select the cassette and give it to the parents, and parents used to play that. So we had that, and then adukapra vandu we had Walkman. Like Walkman was a big thing. Like my parents had one for the longest time, but none of us kids were like allowed to
Also,
use
there was the handheld, no,
the handheld tape recorder.
the handheld one cassette chamber, and then it'll have a speaker like a speaker on
Yeah,
the side,
side. So
and the handle.
that we were allowed to fiddle around with, but Walkman and the Philips music set we never could touch. I think I was in like class 4 or class 5 when my parents were like, okay, train trip la pona, you guys are old enough to like listen to songs on like train. And adu vandu me and my brother used to fight because the rule was one person listens to side A of a cassette, the other person side B. So you take turns. And appala train journey la, so it's not like you can carry a lot of cassettes. At the max, two cassettes or three. So we used to like fight like crazy because he'll be like, no, no, I want to listen to side A. Like no, no, I want to listen to side A. Like I want to listen to Urvasi first. Like, that I remember. And then we got a CD man because we didn't like get mobile phones or anything. I still remember that we got a car when first car when I was in class 10 or something. Appada வந்து we got like a solid pioneer. Like my dad never got any upgrades to the car. The only thing we got was a Blom Fontaine or something. Like it was a German
Blaupunkt. Blaupunkt.
Blopunk. Yeah, it was a
Blaupunkt.
German audio set in the car, and this it used to sound so good that all the good cassettes that we got, I think Kadal Virus was one album where the cassette stayed in the car because I was like, okay, and the cassette கேட்கறதுக்காகவே I'll we'll
It
go in the
sounds
car.
better when in the car than anywhere
Yeah,
else.
like imagine listening to Vanilla in that car. Like it used to sound fab. So அப்போ வந்து me and my brother started taking turns to pester my parents, saying, hey, you know what? We don't want to go sit and listen in the car and all. Let's upgrade like the system in the house and all that. So Sanda Potter. Then we got like this Philips 3 in two cassette tapes, one CD with like all the
Mm.
recording functionalities. But then அது கேட்டுட்டு we couldn't like listen to the Walkman quality anymore. We become snobs by then because we're like, hey, what is this? We're not hearing things clearly and all. And Harry Jairaj had come by then, and his album sounded like perfect. So we said, oh, this, that. So we said, no, we want a CD man. So our parents got us like this big CD man machine. And my tata was like, okay, I'll pay. Like, why you guys fighting? I'll pay for the CD man. So my grandfather got both of us a CD man.
I actually never owned a single CD. I've never had
Really?
to no made the jump directly from cassettes to MP3.
I used to still
Like
buy,
MP3 CD, but not a 12 not a 12 song CD.
or not like the
150 song MP3 CD, you know?
not the official CD, right?
Yeah, never.
Yeah, no, I still used to buy cassettes with my pocket money, and our CD one they expensive. Okay, CD was like
Yeah.
150 rupees or something. Cassette was 40, and I consumed a lot of music. So even after that, I used to like what I used to do was I used to get the cassettes. CD one is only very special albums. So the train journey mari because we had that system, we used to buy that Nero CD burner. So that ROM CD we used to buy, we used to put it in, and we used to like. I think it was pretty expensive then. Ipo sonna my niece and nephew may laugh about it, but upon the a rewritable CD, you could rewrite it like n number of
Hmm.
times,
Hmm.
like about 200 rupees or something.
Yeah, yeah.
So I fought with my dad like anything, and I'm like, no, we need this CD, we'll use it in this only. And the CD one, we'll rewrite every trip. It's like making a playlist, right? So, we used to rewrite on trips, and again, அதே சண்டை தான் திருப்பி வரும். Like, who's listening first?
CDs, like I said, we just for some reason never because I couldn't justify to my dad that hey, yeah, I get something, I get a cassette for $40. I cannot ask for a CD for $140 or $120 or whatever it was.
And I directly went to Nokia. Like, I had cassettes, I had like CD man. I think I still continue to buy cassettes well until like 2008, 2009. Varikime, I was buying cassettes because we had a cassette player at home. And then, like, when I got my first job, I asked only one thing of my dad. I said, I need like that Nokia N90 music edition phone. My dad's like, "Adla enna panna pora?" I said, no, it can store 98 songs. It's very comical. But back then, I was like, you know what? I'll repay you with my first salary. And like a final year college, like 22 kilometers, I used to travel in bus. So I wanted to like, I'll be like, "Hilla, enna cake, like, get me that." So I jumped from cassettes to that. But then, yeah, those were all like my music devices.
I used to have a Sony Walkman phone.
Oh, yeah.
I had the Sony Walkman phone, and it was very nostalgic because it reminded me as I had a Sony Walkman, this cassette player. I never had the Sony Walkman CD player because it didn't make the jump to CDs at all, and then had the Sony Walkman phone. When it came out, I'm like, okay, I'm buying this. But sorry, Yam, what devices did you have growing up at home? I know you mentioned the Walkman CD cassette player. What other devices did you have growing up at home?
So my dad was a audiophile, but only for his audio files. The file ended after MS Vishwanathan stopped composing music. So, or actually more specifically, when PB Srinivas stopped sounding like PB Srinivas. That's when his music stopped. After
After
that,
MSV, there is Ilayaraja, then there is Rahman, then there is Harris.
so I have a funny story
That's
about
the
that.
pace.
I didn't discover Ilayaraja till I went to college because I had never heard that guy before. I had never heard Ilayaraja songs in my childhood ever. Okay, the first music director I knew of was A.R. Rahman. The second music director I knew of was
MSV.
everybody else. No, everybody else. The third music director I knew of was Ilayaraja. So, with that being said, my dad's audio file was really funny because all he wanted to do was figure out how to listen to PB Srinivas songs, how to listen to MSV songs. He had like Kadalika Neramilai playing on loop, that sort of a thing. And the I mentioned about Nerukku Ner and Minsara Kanavu where I memorized the song, right? Before memorizing Minsara Kanavu song, I had memorized Kadalika Neramilai song, and even before that, I had memorized songs from PB Srinivas, especially Enda Oor Entravane, without even knowing the meaning of that song. So imagine a portly sixth, seventh standard kid singing Enda Oor Entravane in the corridors of a school, and all the teachers looking at you funny because they are the only ones who know what song you're singing. And
Now
they
the
heard it from
kids
their
also.
parents.
Now the kids also.
Because they heard it from their parents.
உங்க வீட்ல ஒரே ஒரு
நான் சொன்னேன்ல எம்எஸ் சுப்புலட்சுமின்னு ஆரம்பிச்சேன் அங்கிருந்தே புரிஞ்சு I won't say kakus but close to that. We had one national player, and that national player sounded horrible because the cassettes were horrible. Once I started playing my cassettes in it, I was like, oh, this player is not that bad. And then my dad went and got like one Philips player. Okay, I was trying to find a photo of it if I could. I couldn't. But that Philips player had this gigantic, like a tower in the middle and two speakers. And by at that time, we were doing carpentry work in our house. So we actually constructed built-in cabinets
Like an
to
enclosure.
host this. Yeah, with a glass enclosure because they were tired of putting plastic cover on the national speaker. They were like, okay, let's put this in.
class.
So they put that. So they put that in. They had concealed wiring and all of that, and that bloody thing never got played because MS Subbulakshmi was only in cassette and that was a CD player. So even now that thing is sitting in the house, but nobody uses it. It has its own prime spot in a built-in cabinet.
No, that reminds me. We had a cabinet made as well, especially for that. So on the sides there were two where the big two speakers would go.
And on top of the cabinet, there'll be two more.
In the center there was a thin thing. That's where exactly that Akai thing would fit, and below there
Yeah.
was a box where the TV would fit.
Yeah, and then the TVs got bigger and the box became useless because
Yeah,
they
so
couldn't buy a bigger TV.
yeah, so that's what. So we could upgrade our TV. So we upgraded our TV once. I think the original was, I don't know, like 25, 26, 28 or something, and then from there we went to a 32. So the 32 barely fit in. Like it was like you couldn't you couldn't push it like this. You had to go exactly like that. And it barely fit in the edges, and then that was our TV for a very long time. We couldn't upgrade.
And we were trying to fit the TV with the speakers, remember? We were trying to put the speakers connected to the TV. And then they decided that, okay, TVs will no longer be like this. So the speakers could no longer connect to the new generation of TV. But the TV itself became so thin, so you couldn't put it fully deep. Otherwise, it will be looking into a cinemascope on the Michael Mandana Kamarajan starting of the movie. They'll put one cinemascope and put your head in, right? That's how the TV started looking like because you had flat TVs put at the back.
That is when my mom said no more cassettes because when we got like a nice CD player, we had like a 32-inch TV which could like fit in. And then I used to buy cassettes. And என்னோட பாக்கெட் மணில நான் வந்து வேற எதுவுமே வாங்கினது கிடையாதுப்பா. I've never gone like I've not even like eaten out. Like mostly I'll spend it on music. Okay, mostly cassettes. So when we got that shelf made, my dad was nice enough to get me like 4 cassette shelves where there'll be slots and you can load your cassettes. I filled all of them. And then I started filling cassettes like on the sides of the TV. Because my mom's like, please get rid of cassettes, and I'll be like, no, this album is sent. Like I'm very like songs, because of the way my parents brought me up. Every song is meaningful for me. I am very sentimental that way. So then when we got a 50-inch TV, my mom was like, absolutely no, TV vekkarte kadame kadayadu. To like,
Yeah, I think a lot of people had those cabinets built in,
when, when,
custom built cabinets where everything would fit in. And same thing below our speakers also there was a cabinet kind of shelf which a spot was for keeping all the cassettes
I said, yeah,
and
I
all that.
and
Okay,
then we
I'm
got
going to
a
ask a question. Max has asked a lot of questions. I'm going to ask one question. What are the craziest things you've tried with a cassette player? Because I have a very good answer for it. So I'm going to ask a question like that.
I have done this thing. I think back then Rhythm had come out, Mission Kashmir had come out, and Mohabbatein had come out. Like all three blockbuster albums. But no parent is going to buy you all three cassettes. So I had Rhythm. A friend of mine had Mission Kashmir. Another friend had Mohabbatein. So in Kita, I had this tape recorder where I could tape over cassettes. So I used to like tape over Rhythm and all that and give to people. Then there's one person I knew from some tuition class said, hey, let's order the songs in a specific way so that when you get the cassette the songs are in like a specific way, like not album wise but then mix and
Mhm.
match. So you had to know the entire, like you had to know when to start recording, when to stop, and then you had to put like the take the cassette out, put the other cassette in. And so I had, it took, now when I think about it, it seems crazy, but it took me about I think 5-6 hours to like kind of rewind, fast forward, and like kind of do that.
So I'll tell you, I've done both of those. So the that's not like my craziest one. Yeah, I've done that. Wherein use a Walkman, put one cassette. So while in my ear, I can kind of play to it, fast forward, stop, and all that. While another song is recording on this one, then remove from the Walkman, put that, and then put another one to the Walkman. Hit record there, hit play here, and then keep listening and take it. Seek to exactly where the song ends.
Yeah.
So that finishes. But that's not the craziest I've done. The craziest was when MTV Select used to come on TV, Nikhil Chinnappa's show, right? And that would play all the new songs. Right? This was it would be like because he had this, if you remember, there'll be this, all the songs running behind in like on a wall,
And you can call
and
and ask.
people would call and ask for those songs, right? And it would generally be like, it's generally like the top 20 songs, the top 50 songs that are popular right now would be available. People could call and or email or letters or whatever ask for it. And because they were all from across different albums, there would be a Ricky Martin in there would be an NSYNC in there would be a Backstreet Boys in there, and all of those would be there. And you cannot just buy all of those cassettes. Plus, they were all expensive as well because they were all on Sony or something like that, right? So they were super expensive. So I have created a mixtape from MTV Select, wherein from the Akai, it is, the TV out is connected to the thing. TV out is going into the cassette players in, and the cassette is there. It's pressed on record and immediately pause. So I would hit record and immediately pause. So it's just waiting. And so the moment here something comes, immediately just go and hit unpause. It'll record the song and again hit pause. And yeah, so and then you don't know when it's going to play as well, right? So you don't know what people are going to request also. So it would take like 3 or 4 episodes of MTV Select to make one mixtape of the songs that you wanted, because no one requested Backstreet Boys in this episode. Shit. So
Wait,
you have to wait for the next episode for someone to request Backstreet Boys so you can hit play.
when will someone request Aces of Bases so that I can like?
Yeah. So I was like, okay, these are all the songs I want. And then whenever MTV Select, put it ready, keep it ready, and just sit near the TV, not going anywhere. Because if I go somewhere and someone requests a song and starts playing, my mom's like, yeah, it's just a song. No, you can go to the restroom. You can go answer the door or answer the phone. No, I am not getting up. I'm sitting right near the TV. Also, I'm not sitting away from the TV. Like, I'm sitting next to the TV because I have to immediately stand up and hit. So
I
I'm
don't
sitting.
think children realize that we had to physically move to a device to press a button for things to work.
Hey,
I
So,
think
you
that
know
thing is
what?
lost on them.
My 5-year-old nephew, he'll be like, Alexa, play Apate, play Senorita, and it plays. You know, it's nice that a 5-year-old can do it, but when I think of all the troubles I went through to record a cassette,
Yeah, so that was the only cassettes that original cassettes I owned were Alai Poyade and Kantukone. But I had a lot of these mixtapes which I would make from the TV or from getting cassettes from friends and so on and so forth. So we had a lot of mixtapes, and I would take a great pride in this because I was like this DJ kind of thing. No, I'm making saying, okay, this will be on romantic based mixtape. It'll have all your bye bye bye, show me the meaning of being lonely, all that nonsense will be in this. This will be a more, peppy one, and this will have all these other ones. Baby one more time, all of this will be in this and like that.
So basically, you had a Kadala cassette.
But this was just for me. This was not.
No, no, no. Come on. Nobody really records
No, no,
backstage
no. I'm
boys with
saying, I'm
that
saying,
much info.
no, no, I'm saying I'm not giving these to. I would not record these for other people, right? This is my collection of.
You record it
This.
for yourself and then distribute it for other people for Kadala purposes. Anyway, that's a different story.
But yeah, that was my thing because sitting next to the TV, so I can't even I can't even see anything because I'm like this to the TV, perpendicular to the TV, waiting to go hit the button and yeah.
See, I
Okay.
I don't
Like getting that 3.5 mm audio out to this thing was the greatest invention in mankind for me at that time, because like what
Yeah.
you can do this, you can take output from the TV and feed it into the player. Mind blowing, because the first time I did it, I actually played it from the TV in full volume and then tried to record it through the thing, and it was very bad.
Nothing more.
it will be very bad. I've tried that. I tried that with I think Stingoட ஒரு பாட்டு இருக்கு Desert Rose.
Desert Rose, yes,
I tried it with
I've recorded that as well.
Wait, isn't that Sachin Tendulkar's favorite song?
no, I don't think.
No,
Oh,
it
that's different guy.
his was Mark Knopfler, Dire Straits.
It's this
Yeah.
is horrible.
Yeah, because I had the Yakai couldn't record like that, but this handheld thing, no, that could record. So I've played on the TV, kept this handheld thing opposite to the TV and tried to record, and you'll pick up all ambient sounds and all that. Then when my dad told me, "Hey, fool, here, 3.5 mm to 3 mm, this is the thing." Like,
The one thing
Appa, you are like the genius. Now only I realized why you are an engineer, Appa.
I have a story, but it's not.
My dad's engineering degree that day came from. I was like, okay, I also have to become engineer. It was like a mind blowing. And then again, all my friends were like, "Hey, Mayur, how are you doing this?" Like I'm recording in proper quality, right? This is like almost proper because there's no loss.
Quality. That is not proper. Stereo quality.
Yeah, stereo quality. And then when they take my cassette and play, it's like, oh my god, this is awesome. So they would take my cassette, make copies out of it.
Yeah.
But, yeah, and this was like I was a game changer at that time.
I think the one thing I would thank my dad for is I hadn't heard Kishore Kumar Rafi for a very long time. Okay, never knew of them. Grew up with a staple of a lot of Ilayaraja, Deva, contemporary music. Thanks to my mom, I know a lot of MSV TKR, AM Raja. Hindi side, I knew all these Nadeem Shravan, Jatin Lalit, all the contemporaries.
90.
90s, but I hadn't heard 1942 A Love Story was an exception because my dad went and bought the cassette because it was R.D. Burman, and he was like, I still remember the Lakshmi complex. There used to be a Sardar uncle who used to sell cassettes, and he told my dad the songs aren't great. My dad is like, no, 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 this is R.D. Burman. I have to buy.
R.D. Burman, last album.
Last album, I have to buy. So I knew that one album, R.D. Burman, but I didn't heard anything. So when I think was in 8th standard or 9th standard, I used to have bad menstrual cramps, which used to put me in bed. And one day I was like sitting there and I was crying, and my dad is like, you know what, you need to get to sleep. So I'm going to play you this song. And it was a mixtape of all Kishore and Rafi hits. Like they had three cassettes, which I never knew the existence of until then. Had never heard it. Okay. A cassette comes on, and the first song is Kilte Hai Gulyahan from Sharmili. எனக்கு படம் தெரியாது. I don't know the movie. I don't know who the music director is. I just hear like a voice coming out playing Kilte Hain Gulyan. And that's like, it was like a, what do you call, passage of trust, Mari, right? Like with my dad trusting me with his music. So that was like mind blowing for me. And then the year after, I think ICICI one, like, I don't know, for maybe some certain bank customers or something, they gave a Lata Mangeshkar some celebratory CD. So there were like 5 or 6 CDs of Lata and Asha singing old songs. Okay, and on the day those CDs were like dang expensive. Okay, because it's a boxed set of CDs going by eras, right? Like, so it will be Lata's tribute to SD Burman, Lata's tribute to like all other people. And then that's how I got into like really old time music, like Pakiza, Dilika Tag, and all that thing. So that, like, just like how you say, oh, dad, you're an engineer. For me, it was like, okay, you listen to all this. Thank you for like introducing, opening like my avenue kind of moment for that.
New world is open.
Yeah, it was really a new world because I
You
was
know,
very,
yeah, but your dad actually did like that thing where he was trying to connect with you also at that time, right?
even
I
now.
mean, that was such a huh? I Apo, that was like you didn't know about it, but he was like, okay, how do I help her best? This is the one which helps me, so it might help you. So that's so sweet that he gave something which worked for him and hoped that
Yeah,
it will
he
help
was like,
you as well.
okay, you're crying in pain. Here, let me play some music. And I used to like listen.
Imagine how many times he would have used the same technique on himself. Like when he was sad, he would have listened to some crazy songs and he would have discovered something like that also. That's amazing.
Even now, you will not believe it. Like, me and my dad connect on music and cricket. Now we fight. Like, I haven't called him because I know what he's going to say. But even now, like recently when Vidudalai 2 came out and Manasila came out, like I called my dad and I was like, come on, share play. Not the cassette thing, but I was like, Appa, you have to like hear this song. Like right now, leave what you're doing. And that's I think I'm thankful that that helped. But those mixtapes were special actually.
But yeah,
Okay.
what is your crazy recording story?
Okay. So mine is not a recording story. Mine is a Star Movies based a 90s kid trying something stupid and breaking things story.
Okay, I'm
Okay.
intrigued.
Okay. Okay. So in 90s, when you were watching Star movies, right, they would show this thing where in cars they would have these cassette players and they would be playing music and you'd see those movies. And the one thing I realized was none of those guys who were playing music in the cars actually opened the cassette player cover and put the cassette in. They would just take that whole thing, which looked like a box with the cassette in it, and stuff it into that cassette player, and it would work automatically. So now I think you can put two plus two together. I had a really nice cassette. I think this was like, and I tried it like a proper experiment, right? So when we bought cassettes, there were different types of cassette covers. A single cassette covers would come in this very sleek plasticky glass pouch which would be see through, and you would have
Hmm.
the cover of, we haven't covered it yet, but they would have the song list in the back and they would have the lyrics inside so that you know what is in which song and all of that, which I discovered much later because I was trying this out. I figured it out. So I would take that paper. First, I would take that thing and try to stuff it into the national thing. It wouldn't work. So I stuffed it in and one side broke. Then I tried to put it in my Walkman. It didn't work, but I didn't want to break it. So I didn't try it too hard. So I just tried slightly. It would go in, but it wouldn't close. Like trying closing. Then I tried putting it into the car stereo. It didn't go in. So I gave up. I was like, oh, this must be like a bad car stereo model. Maruti 800, no? So that's why it's not going. So I left it. Then I was like, okay, maybe this thing is too small. So let me try a bigger cassette. So they had this plastic double cassette. When you have two songs, right? They have this plastic dabba. Especially it came out in that Nerukaner and Minsara Kanavu. They had this plastic dabba which looked posh because it was plastic and not like glass and breakable. So I tried stuffing that into that. It didn't work. I put it into the VCR, thinking this is probably a video. And I somehow took it out. That's a different story. Otherwise, I would have been in big trouble. But this was in the national VCR. It went in, but it wasn't coming out. So I spent one entire afternoon trying with. Finally, I got it. The compass is there, right? So the compass, I stuffed it into that. Yes, and then put it together, and then put it came out. That's how I became an engineer because I didn't want to get trashed. So fear is like a greater motivation than love at some places, right? So then my parents came in, and that national thing was work. I figured out how to make it work because it broke, but it was still closing. So I just had to turn the screws a little bit, and then like little bit of plastic that underneath that thing it came off, but it was still closing. So the cassette would work. So I was safe there. Nothing was visibly disturbed. And till now, I haven't figured out how that cassette goes into that cassette player and they play. If you don't believe me, check out any of the 80s movies. You will see these people having these big cassette players and stuffing it into their car stereo and it just plays. Someone tell me where that is.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh,
But
what you're talking about, but
but
yes,
Bundi, when you spoke about Kishore Kumar Nona, that reminded me of this thing wherein T series right was coming up new. It was coming up, and Gulshan Kumar, right? Yeah, Gulshan Kumar was the dude behind it back at that then. They would do a lot of these wherein they would take all of these older songs and have them resung. So Anuradha Podwal would sing all these Lata Mangeshkar
Lata
songs,
Mangeshkar.
and then Sonu Nigam. That was his big start. He would sound very similar to Mohammad Rafi.
yeah.
All you'd have all of these Rafi songs which were resung by Sonu Nigam, and that was how T Series was trying to make it big back then. Anuradha Podwal would try to ape the Lata Mangeshkar voice as much as possible. Sonu Nigam would ape the Mohammad Rafi voice, and they would redo all of these. And if to an is so this thing to an untrained ear, you think it's actually the original itself. You would never even know, but they were able to. That's how resell those and say best of hits of Mohammad Rafi, hits of Lata Mangeshkar, or tribute to Lata Mangeshkar, tribute to this thing, and they would have their own guys sing them.
Think I have one version now like on the cassette, but this is very interesting because I think when I was in college or something, there's this really nice Rafi song called "Kaun Hai Jo Sapnon Mein Aaya, Kaun Hai Jo Dil Mein Samaya."
Jug Gaya Asma.
Jug Gaya Asma. So I loved that song and I was going to sing it in the culturals or whatever. So when I said Rafi song, one other newbie in class said, "How do you say it is Rafi? It is Sonu Nigam." I said, "I know it is Rafi." No, no.
Yeah, but it was pretty big back then in the 90s. That's how TCs would flood the market. They had few singers who would sound very close to the original, and they would do all of that.
In fact, Shankar S. and Loy started with remixes, right? Instant Karma. They used to have these Instant Karma cassettes and chants.
But that at least was a proper remix, right? Like when the Instant Karmas, Baho Mein Chaliya, or those were very, very nice. In fact, I mean, it's me sacrilege, but some of the songs I like more than the original as well.
Chants cover of Julie songs are like amazing.
Yeah. So I like, but what it reminded me of was this other concept called Jhankar beats, right?
Yeah,
Not the movie, not the
Yeah,
movie,
I know the concept. Yeah, yeah.
concept of it.
they are still
No,
there, by the way.
Illama. No, no, no. TIL moment. Wait, listen now. Is the concept of Jhankar beats, wherein the original cassette is really expensive because it is licensed by HMV or Tips or someone else like that, right? So what these other companies would do is they would get the cassette, they would get the original cassette, play it, and then while it is playing, they would record one layer of some music alongside it. Mostly it is like some drums or some synth pad or something like that, wherein they have now taken the original song, added one more instrument to that song. So then it doesn't fall under the whole licensing thing, and they can sell it. So that's what they would sell. So what you would hear in buses and auto rickshaws and all was the Jhankar version of the original song. So the original song was like $35 or $40 or something. But this they could sell. They would mass produce these record because they're just taking the original song, recording it on a thing and adding one track, and they could sell this for $20. So all the auto walas would play this version, the Jhankar version.
There are some albums, if you go and look in Apple Music or Spotify, where the original album is not streaming in North America, but the Jankar Beats is. Even today,
I'll give you like a funny incident with this Janka beat stuff, right? Which reminds me, you would, and circling back to what I said, I never heard of Ilayaraja songs. I never heard Ilayaraja songs in my childhood, which is
Why are you
extremely weird.
repeating it so many times?
yeah,
Yeah, it is weird, right? But here's the weirdest
should
reason why I never heard of.
release
I
this
never
snippet.
heard of him for a very good reason. Anyone who's been in Tamil Nadu buses in the would attest to the fact that every Tamil Nadu bus or every bus would play Ilayaraja songs. But it wasn't that case in the 90s.
Hey,
In the 90s, they would not play Ilayaraja's songs in that level. They would play contemporary songs because the people who are going in the buses needed to hear the modern songs to get in. They would be like, I'm playing the latest album, so you get into the bus.
Yeah, this I dispute. Okay, 90s Ilayaraja was great. There were a lot of
I'm
great.
talking about late 90s, yeah. Like when I have memory from 98 and all, they were not playing Ilayaraja in buses. They were only playing A.R. Rahman or they were playing Haris Jayaraj and all of those new guys who were coming. They would not play Ilayaraja because I'm not talking about the buses which go from Coimbatore to Tirupur or Coimbatore to Salem, not that kind of buses. I'm talking about like Coimbatore to Chennai, those bigger long term buses, right? Where you had to go and stand in the bus stand and they would take the private bus and go in, where you didn't have, not the government bus, the private bus. So those guys, they would, the way they would attract customers is by playing the latest album which came out because they would be like, oh, instead of going and buying, because we couldn't afford to buy cassettes because that's why we are all in buses. So instead of doing that, you go into the bus and you listen to the songs there. And I heard a lot of, that's how I knew about A.R. Rahman. I heard a lot of those A.R. Rahman songs in those buses and all of these public transport, private buses and all of that stuff. And the reason was Ilayaraja cassettes, right, in the 90s were not like available in windowsills of shops like A.R. Rahman cassettes, or at least the ones I went to. You had to go look for them. You have to go ask for a Ilayaraja cassette and you have to go find them. I'm not talking about Sardarji. That Sardarji guy was basically had everything under the sun. You can go ask him something which came like 2 months ago, which had probably released in the US and he had it. Okay. I'm talking about the regular, the HMVT series cassette people who were there. They would not have, and I never saw Ilayaraja's face till I was in college. I didn't know what that guy looked like. I'm serious. I didn't know what that guy looked like. He was not on television too much either at that time. And yeah, he was not on television. Just go check your 90s shows. A.R. Rahman was there everywhere. Ilayaraja's face was not there. And seriously, go check it. Seriously, go check it. Because even if you take because at that time you had Pepsi Uma and all of those people come out, okay? Even they wouldn't play Ilayaraja songs. There was no retro season. Pepsi
Yeah,
Uma never played Ilayaraja songs.
they played, man. I came to know of like Deepangal Pesum, Tendral Vadi Tindum Podo, all from Pepsi Ungal choice only. And then my dad got the cassette for me. But yeah, let's keep it
Which
this.
year are you talking about?
I didn't grow up in Tamil Nadu, so I can't attest to any of these.
We are territory we are agate.
He was not like there everywhere like he is today.
I
That's
have
the case.
access. I have access to the Ilayaraja Mafia. I can find out and get some clarification for
Yeah,
you.
What
kind of.
was like 94, 95.
Because I became part of the mafia in college. Because that mafia was there in.
No, no. See, I'll tell you, my dad used to listen to a lot of Raja music in the 90s, right? Like Mohumul, we had access. I think the one album that we struggled to find was Kasi. When it had come out, uh, for some reason we couldn't find it, and then and it was the album standing thing was it was Hariharan singing for Raja, all songs. So I think we went to someone and we said, "Hey, can you source the cassette for us?" And they sourced the cassette for us, and we went to kind of get it and all. And it's still one of my favorite Raja albums from the 2000s. But come on, man, if you tell me Tendril Vande Tindu Podalam Pepsi Ungal Choice Lavarlana, they used to show that
I'm
song
not
like
talking about those kind of songs. I'm talking about like.
they were Ilayaraja songs, man.
Yeah, I'm not talking about the modern Ilayaraja songs. I'm talking about the peak ones from the 80s. I'm the thing that after 1990 Ilayaraja songs will not hold a candle to the 80s Ilayaraja.
Okay.
That is a different episode.
Yeah. But anyway. But that should be the next. That should be one. But the whole point about cassettes and all of that, right? The reason I was bringing up this point about Ilayaraja, A.R. Rahman, all of that, cassettes was probably the first time when not the radio which cassettes which you had in the hand, the car stereo concept, right? When it became popular in India, that was like amazing because suddenly, instead of listening to the songs only in tea, because even some tea cutters also, I know this, that different tea cutters would get different patronage depending on the music they put. And we would go to the tea cutter we liked the music the most, right? Even if it was like slightly out of the way or something. But buses, when they started playing music, that was amazing because the whole concept of, when we used to go to picnics in school, and we used to sing along in school to songs. But we used to sing along in like rhymes or whatever thing. But once music started playing in those Matador vans and all of that, which we used to take to school, that became like a thing. It was like a what song is playing here? Oh, is this the new song which came out? And you started learning a lot more about what was probably not very, you were not very exposed to it. You guys were both very exposed to songs because of your parents, but my parents were not into these kind of songs. So for me, the only place I would get exposure to this, and even Pepsi Uma, by the way, we were not allowed to. I mean, not we didn't watch it because my mom wanted to watch some serial, or my dad wanted to watch like the news or whatever, right? So we never saw Pepsi Ungal Choice and all of that in large scale. But cassettes was like the one equalizer, you could say. You could always ask, "Oh, what are you listening to?" And that never happened before Walkmans and these cassette players in public spaces became more prominent. And I think that is probably led to a lot of new music being developed as well, because you were suddenly now able to identify the source of that Deva album being Backstreet Boys, which you might not have in the set.
But I have a question to ask leading to that. It's like, what's the last audio cassette you guys consumed? The last cassette tape you brought, knowing that, oh, this could probably be the very last one you were buying, last few ones.
I can go first on that. It was not because I knew it was the last. It was like the cassette I bought before I went to college, because I always had a CD player in my computer. But my brain computers were meant for gaming and for other things. Like the CD player was not meant for music. As I said, I'm not exposed to music as much, right? So the last cassette player I bought was Eminem's album, the one with all of his best songs from. What's the name of the album also? Behind the Curtain or something. That was the last cassette.
I think for me it was Boys.
Oh,
I think
Okay.
it was Boys. That too again. It was yeah. I took yeah, because there was a college trip. We were going somewhere, uh, and Boys had come out around that time.
2000.
So yeah, around that time. So Boys is what I think was one of the last we remember, because we bought it for the bus, to play it in the bus.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
yeah, this is the Eminem show. I just looked up the album. If you
Eminem.
haven't heard that song, all of his best songs are in there.
For me, I think the last cassette I bought was Juta Hi Sahi. That was like
Way into the
2010, yeah.
yeah MP3 era
Yeah,
and streaming era, and
I tell you what happened.
how do you get the cassette is what I'm interested in.
I had to like
what do you mean? CDs also were dead by then. By then, Judah
people were
Sai came
like
out. Even CDs were dead. We're listening to, we've been streaming from YouTube and all by then.
flight,
But
not
depends on the country.
flight. If you were in India, flight was there. Flipkart or a flight was there,
Yeah,
and they
yeah,
had
yeah.
started selling.
Savan was there. Eh?
Selling
Savan was there. No,
no, Savan.
Yeah, Savan
You
was there.
never used to get new songs. That's the thing. Like release day ko paata varadu. You will never get the song.
but again, songs would be out on Savan pretty soon. Ghana and Savan, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Ga-
Jutai Sahi was the Maya Yashoda.
Maya Yashoda one.
I was more into songs.pk, but that's a different story.
But என்னாச்சுன்னா I so badly wanted these songs, and then I used to buy CDs from Flipkart or Flight இருந்தது அப்போ, where digital music used to come. Release day, the album hadn't come out, and I was like, no, I need to listen to this album or whatever. Then I was just talking to அப்போ வந்து Yahoo forums எல்லாம் இருக்குல்ல, O cities and all that. So we were having chat, and someone said, hey, you know what, the cassettes are out early, but the CDs and is going to take a while, and it's going to come on streaming late. So then I went to my trusted cassette guy and I said, listen, there's a new A.R. Rahman album out. I need the songs. Can you please source the CD? So he said yes. And the reason why I got this CD was upon the Airtel vandu you could listen to the song. Like 1 minute of the song they had released. And then I had heard Maya Yashoda and I'm like, no, I want to go listen to the song. But then I got the cassette and I fell in love with I'll Be Falling for the Moonlight. Like on the part my mom was shouting at me. She's like, "Why are you so impatient? It's gonna come on flight anyway, and you're going to buy it again and what and all that." But then when my mom also heard I'll Be Waiting for the Moonlight, and Vijay Jasdas is like crooning away to glory, she's like, "Yeah, nalla irukku paatu." Like that was the last cassette I bought. There was one other cassette I wanted to buy, which was Needane and Ponvasandam. For whatsoever reason, I had got the songs on flight, and it was funny because I was preparing for like my corporate PGDBA, and I had like my strategy exam, financial strategy exam, where they talk about like stocks, bonds, and all that. So I was supposed to be studying, and the album dropped earlier than expected. So I had downloaded the songs of flight and I was listening to it. But then on the car, like, you needed either a CD or a cassette, and I wanted to listen to the songs in the cassette, and I didn't want a TDK. Like, even though the album had its own problems with vocals, the instruments were all like crystal clear. And I'm like, no, I am getting like the audio cassette or CD if it comes out. But that one I couldn't source. So yeah, the last one I got was like, I think Juta Hi Say.
Wow.
Pretty late into the game.
No, I'm thinking actually because I don't remember. I think I said Eminem already, right?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, Eminem. So
Yeah,
you men-
that
you
one, the
you
Eminem show.
mentioned earlier, and I wanted to, is that how the different cassette overlays came, like, because I remember when the earlier cassettes was this, it was not glass, it was still plastic, but it was a very breakable
Yeah,
see-through plastic. It was almost like glass, but it was plastic, and
yeah,
that was, those are pretty thin, so the cassette would snugly fit into it, and maybe
yes.
one sheet of paper, which would have the name of the
And
cassette.
the closing sound was
No,
very
no lyrics,
pleasant also.
no space for lyrics or anything. No, no, it would be very snug.
90% they won't have.
Yeah,
They'll have this one thin sheet.
it was very snug. There was a thin sheet, so you would have the poster that would be here, and then it would fold half. It would
Yeah.
fold half. On this half that it is folded is where the names of the song list would be there. So
Right.
5 songs side A, 5 songs side B, or whatever it would be. That's all it would be.
But in inlay, like, you'll have singers, no? It will say SP
No, not
Balasubramanian.
enough, because it's only one sheet. It was just one sheet which folds like this. That's it. It was just like this, and the cassette sits into it, and kachak bolke it closes.
I have to ask.
That is a snug fit one. Then later the ones towards,
Yes, sir.
yeah, were a lot thicker. Then there was enough to fit a book, because that's when all Rahman's ones, he would name everyone in there, right? He would even name the guys
Yeah.
who played the percussion and all that. So that's when you could fit like a book. And because those were fatter, Rahman's one would just have the track list and everyone in there. Other guys would have lyrics also in there, like one or two songs. The lyrics would be, because you could fit a fatter book in there. And then came the third one, which is just plastic, but it was this rubberized plastic, which is much bigger, right?
Cassettes are
Yes.
there.
Yeah, which is
It
much,
had a big U in the back, and it was like a click. You had
yeah,
so the difference I would say is the first one, right? Was like there was
locking.
no jutting out like a plug madri irkada. It won't be like fitting in. It'll just close and it'll almost have like a crisp kind of a thing, and tuck volke the edges will flush close. And they would all be like flush on all four sides. So you wouldn't have anything poking out. The second one you mentioned would still be flush, but they wouldn't flush close. They would still be like a spring, like chakak, okay, it'll open
Yeah,
up. The third one you mentioned is where they had like a little not button, but like one out and one in, and it'll close and
like
it'll
a
give you a
notch,
click.
the notch.
Yeah, it'll give you a click. And opening it was like a pain also, because it would like you need to open it without the cassette flying out, because when you're opening it in a bus, or if you're
Slowly,
opening it sitting in
slowly.
an auto, it'll sometimes fly out.
No, so the problem what happened with those was, because you would get these cassette sleeves or
Yeah.
holders, where you can put. Those were too big. They wouldn't fit in
Fit
that cassette sleeve. The other ones would fit because they were snug and they would fit in.
I
These
didn't
big
even
ones.
know we had cassette sleeves. Yeah.
Hey, we just talked about it, no?
Next
Like,
episode we'll talk about CD racks.
See, that is a better episode for me. More like things I'm aware of. The CD booklet.
I think the one audio company that did the bigger cassettes consistently was Pyramid.
Yeah.
Anything Pyramid had audio rights to had those plastic bigger tapes.
Yeah, but I still like the snug ones. It was so nice, cute, and they were transparent. You could see
The
the
Hey,
DGK ones were
carry
snug.
more cassettes on a trip, man. Simple.
yeah. And It's also the cassette itself, right? Some of them would have this would be opaque, and some of them would be transparent, so you could actually see the entire thing as it's looping and it's
Yeah.
stopping. And at the end of the cassette, that little white tape would be that is
Color tape or white color tape was
yeah.
there.
So the transparent
That's when
ones.
you know you're hitting the end, that you need to stop recording or stop playing. We also had these rumors that if you hit the tape, then the tape will fall off and the cassette will not work anymore. So you had to stop after the song is done. Don't let it go to the end.
Uh,
Actually preferred like the opaque ones because opaque ones la வந்து the film oda பேர் எழுதிருக்கும். So I used to like that.
hmm.
Then it's
See,
you
but
know.
one question on that opaque one, kadayadu, but on that same cassette, did you guys ever have this automatic side changer thing?
Yeah, we had one where it automatically switched.
I have
Wait,
seen it on TV.
wait,
So
what is
what
this?
happens is, Max, that cassette will go up and twing, it will turn and then go back in and it'll. I
Ooh.
know because I know you two are audiophiles. I was like,
Wait,
somebody had that fancy thing.
no, you don't have to eject it. You just put it
Yeah,
in once,
and
and
it
then it
changes.
just
It
goes
will
in.
automatically change sides.
That was the I think that was the last cassette come CD player we had. It had that functionality where you put it in automatica. You didn't have to do the AB. It will automatically like play.
Hmm.
I need to find a video of it because that thing looks
I need
magical. Okay,
yeah. I need to now go look it up on YouTube because that's something.
it'll turn and it'll go down and it'll auto close also. I was like, what a man.
Okay, I have a question to ask all of you because this is something that happened recently when Hridayam came out. Hridayam had a side A and side B.
Hmm.
Vinny Srinivasan actually released the audio cassettes, which I couldn't source being here, but I listened
Okay.
to the albums in side A and side B format actually. But they released it like a cassette tape. And I thought that was a really nice promo wherein they kind of released the audio cassette in a very, very limited capacity. So, given that, Ipo, the one problem I face with streaming, right? Like you don't own your music, correct? It goes away. Sometimes I have purchased albums that I have downloaded in my iTunes library that have vanished, and then I have to wait for it to come back and buy because I want physical copies of those albums because they are old albums, they're sentimental for me for whatsoever reasons. Do you think cassettes should come back? Like there's a large audience for LPs now, vinyls, but
Yeah.
do you think cassettes should come back? And would you fork out money if someone were to like bring out a cassette player and cassettes were to make a comeback?
But I think the LP is because cassettes are lot more loss compared to the LP disc. The LP disc is because from an audiophile perspective, it's like there is less loss. You can hear it much better. But cassettes, you lose a lot because you're trying to on that small head. You're trying to
Yeah,
get the
no, I
entire
get
song.
it. But I'm thinking if technological advancements were to happen and you were to get decent quality, would you or would you
Storage,
want?
storage is a huge problem. Right, like I said, you have all those cassette sleeves and running out, and then with all these fat cases, and they stack up. They don't stack up properly, so because you have just some foam in them. So like I said, the original plastic ones you could stack like Jenga. You could stack them and they would be fine. You could
Hmm.
stack 15, 20, and you could stack boom, boom. These other ones, they don't stack properly. It was a
Yeah, we
pain.
had that cassette holder, the Jenga type thing. Pretty sutti sutti, it'll rotate and you can pick things out.
See, now you remember.
That we had. You were talking about a sleeve. I thought it was like one CD sleeve.
No, like that. There was a they used to sell those as well. They had a cassette thing, which is like a lazy Susan.
Proper. Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
it's the same thing I have for my spice rack today. I have a spice rack which can
Yeah,
have it folds. The same thing would be for cassettes. And then there were sleeves also that you could put, and it would go into like a shelf or something like that, and it would be there. Yeah, man, cassettes was a interesting
And
period.
for nostalgia's sake, I wish cassettes were come back. But I don't know what happened to my cassettes. They were there when I went to India to get married. Another couple, I didn't go for like 10 years, and now there's something else there. So I'm not asking my mom what happened to them. She's not telling me because definitely that's a very touchy topic. But I wish cassettes make a comeback. At least purely from a nostalgia standpoint, it would be nice to like kind of at least have some cassettes to physically play. That's my.
my very considered and objective take is if they bring back a cassette player where I don't have to open the cassette and stuff it in, I will definitely buy it. No, I need a cassette player and I need a cassette and I shouldn't need to open the cover of the cassette. and I should be able to put the cassette into the cassette player, and it will play side A and side B without me having to eject it out. Under
Because
these terms and conditions,
yeah,
I am completely in for a cassette.
he's going for his 80s Star Wars, whatever.
Have any of you surgically operated upon a cassette?
Not surgically, but I have operated. Like what I would do is you would take like a pencil wouldn't actually work properly. I would take one of those compasses, put it under that, and then take it out, the magnetic tape, and then split it into two in the middle, break it basically. And then take the tape and then roll it on the ground, and that's done.
To display the tape.
Yeah, I'm talking about repair.
Like that.
Yeah, so
Like, I was going to say that
I
the
once
surgery was successful, the patient was dead.
no, I once gave someone a cassette and they had some useless old player or something, and the cassette got stuck in there, and it got stuck, and we pulled it out, but it all come out and it was looped up in there, so it's like a ball of almost like a ball of thing, and then so yeah, you take the pencil, put it in, you start doing as much as you can. After a point, it doesn't go in properly because it's all folded. So that's when you have to get those small screwdrivers, because they're those small Phillips screws, right? Remove them, take it out, roll it. Because once also it happened was someone hit fast forward too much or something, it broke. So that white tape that comes on the end, that broke. So I had to open it, and then with what is that? This super glue, that araldite or something, that I had to then stick it back onto it, and then slowly bring that back in.
Actually, these tiny screwdrivers.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, right?
Open panni, then you'll have to like
Exactly fit on it.
fit it in the wheel.
Fit it in the wheel and then let it remove it and then put it back, and then it would snap again when you close it with. So
That's what your little finger was for.
no, that is just to rewind. I'm saying if it comes off and doesn't go properly, you
Yeah, what
remove.
happens is it will not come
You
out.
know, I never had that opportunity, but I always wanted to set fire to it and see what happened. Because it's supposed to burn with a very,
I'm not trusting Yam with any of my cassettes.
nor should you. I mean, I'm a very inquisitive person. I learn by destruction.
My mom didn't speak to me for 2 days because I recorded Tenali over her Pudhiya Mugam tape, okay?
Now you give me the Pudhiyamugam tape and Tenali tape, I will make both of you never speak to each other.
Okay,
They'd be like, please.
I will find your cassettes. My only fee is I can break one. Will you take it or leave it?
No, thank you.
please, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, on that note, this is the Chai Tea podcast. We're talking about the era of cassettes, the golden era of cassettes, the forgotten era of cassettes, however you want to call it. If you're a millennial or a Gen Z or someone, please go ask, a cousin or an elder or someone, and they will let you know what it is. Otherwise, ping one of us, and we'll be more than happy to educate you on the pains of repairing a cassette, or the collective shrieks when cassette gets stuck in a player or something. We know how that pain exactly is, so we can help you out there. Until then, this is Max signing off with Yam and Bundi. Guys, say bye.
Bye, everyone.
I will have one word for it. Cassettes were the mullets of the 90s. It's great looking back, but you don't want it back again.
Keep listening to us.
And it's back in 2020, so you never know, right?
No, you're right. Keep listening to us on Spotify, now on YouTube and Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts from. We'll be back with another episode soon. Thank you.
Thank you for listening. I hope you liked it.